On a packed house at Wrigley Field on Father's Day yesterday, the Cubs once again failed to get any offense going. They dropped the series finale to St. Louis 2-1 and are now chasing even more games in the division. We're going to talk about that. How about the Cubs being on Roku? What was that all about? Did you guys like it? We'll give our take on that as well. Plus, Miguel Amaya continues to run the Cubs out of rallies. Are his days in Chicago numbered? That and more on this edition of the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in the comment section. Let us know how you feel about the Cubs catching situation and the fact that their offense can't seem to scratch across the run. But here is your invitation to our show. What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name is Anthony Pasquale with Mick Gillespie. He's on Twitter at Broadcaster Mick, and I'm at Ant_Pasquale3. Mick, busy weekend for you. You had the birthday the other day, Father's Day yesterday. How's everything going?
Yeah, man, it's good weekend. I mean, not a good weekend offensively for the Cubs, but for me, had a great weekend, and it was like honestly, it was just like the weekend of Mick. You remember, like George had the summer of George. It was like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it was a really good weekend. I just wish that the Cubs could have made it even better with some offense. But right now they're just terrible. I mean, there's just really no other way to say it. They're routine dead fish at the plate. They don't do anything.
Yeah, you really can't sugarcoat that. The only thing that really could have made the weekend any better was the Cubs bats waking up a little bit, but once again they don't. They lose to the Cardinals yesterday by an all too familiar score, 2-1. We're going to talk about the Cubs being on Roku for a second, but I want to talk about Jameson Taillon because his record is now 3-3. But boy, has he been really good. I know this is a lot of words on your screen here, but Taillon, that's his third straight quality start that the Cubs have went on and lost. He's allowed 3 earned runs or less in 10 out of his 11 outings, and the Cubs have lost 6 of his last 7 starts. This guy's been everything you've wanted this season. He's been exactly what you paid for last year, and I don't think he's given enough credit because he's not getting wins in the win column, but he goes out there every 5th day, just like Steele and Assad and Imanaga and Brown or Wisniewski or whoever else, and he gives you a really good chance to win, and the Cubs keep on letting him down.
I'm glad too. I mean, they paid a lot of money for him. And so they expected that he would do this last year. And last year, I thought he was one of the biggest disappointments on the team just because we thought this is what we were going to get. But we're getting it now. You're right. He's done a really good job, gives you a chance to win. They never score for him or anybody else. So it's not like they're stacking up all the runs for one guy. They can't score no matter who's out there at this point in time. But the starting pitching day after day, game after game, just continues to be excellent. It's not even good. It's excellent. I mean, they hardly ever give up any runs. Now, I thought about this, though, today, too. Baseball and pitching is a rhythm. And when you're a pitcher, you get the first 3 outs. You want to get back out there and pitch some more. Well, this offense stinks so bad that I think it helps the starting pitching because you're never in there for a long inning. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not, how many great at-bats have we seen? I mean, I'm just trying to think like the Christopher Morel at-bat against the Braves where, he fouled the ball off of his foot. It was like 13 pitches. And you're going, man, this is the turning point in his season. Yeah. And it has turned. It just turned the other way. Like we thought it was going to turn like, hey, this is finally. No, he's out. Bellinger, maybe he rushed himself back. He's out every time.
Hap gives you a good at-bat here and there.
Well, Hap leads the team like once a week, maybe twice a week. Hap will just carry you to a win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just basically what's happening. In the other games, he's just kind of there. But then he's had some breakout games. What you want is Hap to have a game like that, Bellinger to have a game like that, Suzuki to have a game like that. Well, and then you put it all together and you win games. Hap's the only guy that's even having. At least what I like about Hap is when he's having his big games, he gets all those hits in one day and it helps you win, So the starting pitching in Taillon has been fantastic, and they get no support. But maybe part of that is that the offense is so bad that you're never really in there to get tight. Like you get tight if it's a long inning, but you don't have any long innings. As a matter of fact, if you got to run in the clubhouse and go to the bathroom, you better hurry, because it's almost like you're catching, the red line out of the Addison stop. You got to go and it's not waiting on you. That's how these innings are. 5 minutes, boom, you're out, pitch again.
Right. You have to go to the bathroom as soon as you get off the field, because if you go with 1 or 2 outs, there's no guarantee you're going to make it back for the bottom half of the inning. But it's been so frustrating. You brought up the points about Happ and Suzuki and Bellinger, and the fact that you just haven't seemed to get 2 guys to click on any given day. And that's been kind of the story of the last couple of months for this Cubs team. There's a few guys that I want to touch on a little bit later, and we'll get into that. But Happ is really the only guy that impacts winning these days. And if you don't get that out of Happ, it seems like nobody else is going to come through. I will say Dansby Swanson and Mike Talkman have been doing a good job of at least working at bats. They at least go deep into counts. It hasn't necessarily resulted in a lot of hits for those guys as of late, but at least they're seeing the ball better. But I'm sick and tired of hearing about expected batting average on balls in play and stuff like that. It's like, I don't care if Christopher Morel hits at 100 miles per hour right at somebody. You need to start producing.
Yeah, right.
I know that mentally a line drive out does a little bit more for you than a weekly hit grounder, but I don't care about that. I want wins. I want runners on base. I want big hits. I want production. And nobody in the lineup is giving you that except for Happ every couple of days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one's doing anything. I mean, it's honestly, it's sad, and to me, it starts with Dansby Swanson. I sent you a message today. I saw this on Twitter, and it's worth bringing up because it does feel like this is turning into the next Jason Hayward. So this day in Chicago sports posted through 207 games, Dansby's batting 236 with 183 hits and a 317 on base percentage. You compare that to Jason Hayward, 184 with 241 and 312.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
eerily similar.
Better. Like he's got one more hit. His batting average is a little bit better, and his on base percentage is slightly worse.
Yeah, I will say
this sucks. Like you just paid this guy for seven years, and when this was going on, and I love Cap, David Kaplan. I mean, I love him. I think he's great. But we're getting into it on Twitter over these long-term contracts with some of these guys. There's no guarantee. You pay somebody guaranteed money for 7 years, and this happens. You're stuck with this guy.
Yeah.
You're stuck with Hayward. You got to play this guy at shortstop. You telling me that you couldn't put Luis Vasquez at shortstop and get the same production? He's just about as good defensively, and he hasn't even played a day, really like a real day in the big leagues. I mean, he was on the team, but he didn't even play.
Yeah,
he can bat 200. Anybody can that these guys have in the minor league system, and you're not stuck 7 years paying this guy, $170 or $200 million. He's not living up to the contract, and the problem is that in this game, because of guaranteed money, you're screwed. You have to stick there and deal with this now and see if it gets any better. And we saw what happened with Jason Hayward. For years, you put him in the outfield, even though he was like probably the 6th or 7th best outfielder you had in your organization. It's just a slow roller to second base and a weak pop-up to second base. The problem is guaranteed contracts, because there's no fire you can light under these millionaires, man. This team, the way that they play is so uninspired. It's pathetic.
And I think that's the part that is so interesting about this, is because you'd want to give Suzuki, a day off, or Bellinger a day off, or Happ or Swanson or any number of these guys that you're paying all this money to produce. And we get in the comment section every day and we see bring up Canario. and we see bring up Brennan Davis, and we see bring up Ballesteros now that he just hit for the cycle the other night, and bring up Vasquez and bring up Triantos and Shaw. But the problem is, like you said, if you're paying these guys $25 million or $30 million in Bellinger's case, that's a chunk of your lineup that has to be out there every day. If they're not producing, you're wasting all that money. Whether or not they're on the bench or not, you're still paying them that money. So, like, sure, you could bring up James Triantos and you could put him at second base or you could put him at third, but that doesn't change the fact that Suzuki and Bellinger and Happ and Swanson need to be in the lineup. And if they don't start hitting, you're screwed. Like, that's the only thing about it. Like, as much as you would like to get Owen Casey in there every day to play right field, you can't have a $25 million per year guy just sitting on the bench. And then what about the other roster spots that get impacted by you having 6 outfielders up at the big leagues? Like, it's on these guys that you're paying to produce to start producing. And day after day, they don't produce. Craig Counsell gets, to his seat talking to the media, and he says 1 run ain't going to cut it. Well, figure out how to cut it, because you need to score more than 1 run, and putting the same lineup out there day after day that can't hit, especially with runners in scoring position, isn't working.
Right. Yeah. Like the Miguel Amaya at bat, I text you like the question I heard Jesse Rogers ask him in the post-game show about a pinch hitter. Like, you can't rely on Miguel Amaya to do anything offensively. He was never good throughout his entire minor league stay. It's just that they didn't have anybody else. Like, he's okay, but now he's exposed at the big league level, and he's so far from being even a presentable bat. And then you get in that spot, and it's like, that may have been the time to use Patrick Wisdom, instead of letting him ground out like he's going to hit the soft ground out or strikeout. He's so overmatched in the big leagues, and it's time to get creative. I thought when they bunted 3 times in a row a couple games ago that we were kind of turning the corner, where it was like, hey, it's time to figure out a way to get those runs in.
Manufacture runs.
Miles Michaelis looks like like Cy Young out there. Like, he's the great, but then tomorrow's starter is going to look just like that, because these guys can't hit. Doesn't matter who's out there every single game. And like you were talking about, the first 3 innings, you can go ahead and book that the first 3 innings you may get a walk. That's you might get a single, but nobody's driving any runs in. We're not doing anything creative. You get Pete Crow Armstrong can at least steal a base. So get the third base and stand there when they ground out.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Pete Crow Armstrong has pinch ran twice in this series and been stranded after stealing second and getting moved to third because we can't get the hit. The big problem is, honestly, that first batter, when you have the runner on with no outs, that first batter needs to move the runner over. Pete Crow will get to second on his own, but you need to get him to third. So that way, with 1 out, those weak ground outs or the flyouts can be sac flies. Instead, those happen with 1 out already because, Morel swings out of his shoes and pops it up. And then, a ground out puts PCA on third base. Now he's there with 2 outs, and a fly ball to the warning track doesn't score the run because there's 2 outs. It's just, we've said it already. It's the same game day after day. And the 2 options are the Cubs get an early lead, the starting rotation is good, and they blow it at the end of the game. The other option is the Cubs are within 1 run or 2 runs all day long. They get a flurry of runners in scoring position, can't get the big hit, and they spoil a day that their bullpen was actually good. Those are the 2 options. A very rare one is like 2 days ago when you win by more than 3 runs. That's happened
all in
twice.
1 hit, though. It's all in 1 hit.
It all was on 1 hit.
It's not like they strung 5 hits together. A guy hit a home run for once.
And that only happens once a month because it took 30 games between those 2 for that to happen. And this is the other thing that pisses me off: these fake rallies. In the 8th or 9th, when you're down 1 or 2, you can guarantee the Cubs are getting first and second or second and third. And that's why I call it a fake rally, because a rally only happens if you score. The Cubs never do. They always do just enough to make you think they have a chance, and they don't come through. And here's the other thing. So many balls to the warning track. Wind's blowing in, wind's blowing out. It doesn't matter. The Cubs put it right in front of the wall over and over again. Yesterday, I think Michael Busch had one up against the Ivy. Cody Bellinger took one to the track, and then Wisdom, the final out, was a great play by Donovan made up against the Ivy as well. So these fake rallies and this warning track power just results in the same games over and over and over.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I mean, I see it every day. What was it? Friday, it was we lost because the wind was blowing in, right? We couldn't hit a home run. They hit a home run. They got a catcher that's never hit a home run in his life. And this series, he's hit 2 of them, 2 game winners.
The modern day Albert Pujols.
Yeah, right. Like, okay. So that was why it didn't go out on Friday, and then Sunday, it goes to the wall. I don't know, man. It's some of it's bad luck. Some of it's bad pitching, with the bullpen. But I think a lot of it's just that these guys aren't hitting. And I wonder if Suzuki and Bellinger just came back too early. Maybe they came back too early. I mean, we thought that Bellinger with the cracked rib cartilage or whatever it was supposed to be out for like a long time. I mean, somebody told me like 50 days, it takes to heal that.
Yeah, and he was there like all of 21 days?
Yeah,
3 weeks he missed?
Yeah. So he comes back and he's done really nothing. I mean, maybe a home run or something. I mean,
he was really good that first week. I think he hit 2 homers, and we thought, Cody Bellinger's back. This team's going to get hot. And since then, it's been tough sledding. It's been a lot of first pitch swinging pop-ups and a lot of ground outs, which is so different from what you got last year when he was driving the ball constantly. He's just not driving the ball right now.
And Suzuki, he's come back and he's been pretty much an easy out. I mean, he'll get some singles, but, not a lot of extra base hits. They had 2 extra base hits the entire series against the Cardinals. I mean, and it's not like St. Louis has, this isn't the Braves from the 90s pitching staff. I mean, the guys are showing up with like 4.5 ERAs. It's not Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz that we're throwing out there at these guys. Like, I mean, come on.
No, and every night
you put a lineup together that goes out there and at least challenges the starting pitcher. Just challenge him. Just get on
you got to figure something out. You have to. I don't care what it is. Move people around, bench guys. I don't know, but you definitely have to figure something out because you mentioned the 2 guys, Suzuki and Bellinger. They're supposed to be your 2 best hitters, and they haven't acted like it. With runners in scoring position, I think last year all of us would have said there's nobody we'd rather have up than Nico Hoerner. But my God, is he an automatic out right now too? And if you're going to go out here and say, oh, well, he's got a broken hand, so you can't count on him for too much, then sit him, put him on the IL if he can't hit. You said you went through all this strenuous batting practice workout. If that's the case, this guy needs to be better.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I mean, they say hitting's contagious, and I do believe that. And it's going to take some guys getting hot to take the pressure off of everyone else. And I've said it before. Dansby Swanson's supposed to be your leader. And just those stats that I just read, it's like he's turning into the next Jason Hayward. And that's a pretty scary proposition because I think this is like year 2, right? Of his contract, right?
Hayward won that World Series in year 2 of that deal.
Yeah, right. And then we kind of let him off the hook for a lot of other, really, mediocre to bad years.
Right.
I don't know. I think that you could turn things around. The team's in last place now, but they're only 4 games under 500. But it's not that. It's not even the record to me. It's the way that they play the game. And I know we've said this before. It's not whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game. And you're going to lose games that you play the game and you play it the right way and you do things and you put pressure and the other team makes plays. I mean, that's the fun part of it. I know you want to talk about the Roku game. I was listening to their post game and Chip was talking about, or no, Skip was talking about, I don't know, it's Chip. I get confused.
Chip. It was Chip.
Chip. Okay. Chip. And then Skip's the dad.
Yes.
So, and he was talking about what a great game it was. I didn't think it was that great of a game. It just looked like a team that just wasn't putting enough pressure on the pitchers and the Cubs now, and I just feel like these games get into this rhythm where no one's getting a hit and it maybe it benefits the pitching, but I like a low scoring game. but I just don't at this point, I just don't feel like the Cubs offense does anything to put any type of strain on the starting pitchers of the other teams. And that's why we get into a lot of these low scoring losses.
Yeah, I think I'm with you 100%. Like, wind blowing out and a 2-run homer in the top of the 4th inning was enough to win the game. Like, that doesn't seem like a great baseball game to me. It seems like, sure, there was some good defense and good pitching, but a lot of missed opportunities. And the over under for that game was 11.5 because of the wind blowing straight out with both teams' 4th or 5th starters out there. No, you got a 2-1 pitchers duel that you could not see a big hit in with a magnifying glass. That's the type of game you got. And it was on Roku, so I'm sure a lot of you guys missed it yesterday. Kind of a tough another streaming service that you might need to get or start a free trial of. It's hard to balance those, honestly, before you start getting charged for all these different charges. But I will say the Chip Carey, Jim DeShace combo, I liked that. I thought they meshed off each other really well. I think Chip, a lot of you guys remember him when he used to call Cubs games. I was a little too young for that. I just have seen the highlights of, Sosa's 62nd and Gary Wood's 20 strikeouts, but he calls a good baseball game and definitely kept me entertained through a lot of 1, 2, 3 innings.
I liked it too. I really did. I'm not a fan of the 50 streaming services. Apple TV did games, and the broadcaster combo was honestly embarrassing. Some of them were so bad.
Yeah, Peacock has games too now.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're going to go and just throw these people on because we'll feel real good about the team that we put out there because, we're checking boxes and then they stink, like at least this felt like, well, these guys cover the teams every day, so you got those two on there. I thought those two in particular were good. I thought they did a nice job of not, you can go to the sideline, but not have the sideline take over from the game because you got a person on there talking about something that is relevant and you just want to watch the game. They kind of got in and got out. So it was fine, and I got it. So
yeah,
so I got Roku. So it was easy for me. But, the blackouts with baseball, all the different streaming services, we grow up, and I know this is probably before your time, where you just turned on WGN and you just watched the Cubs game, and it was just on there. And now we're in a world where the Cubs are kind of everyone else. Like you can't find the game. It's very, normally it's just kind of vanilla. And it's not like, they kept showing the clips of Harry on there, and it's brought me back to why I love Cubs baseball, his grandfather, so. And I love JD, man. I think he's funny. I like his sense of humor. I think he's really genuine, and I like the combo a lot. I could watch those guys, and I used to watch him when he was the Cubs guy, and I never had a problem with him. And I know that the reason that he got let go or left or whatever had to do with the way that I think it was like the 2003 or it was maybe the 2003 season, in the way that the season ended, and him and Stoney I guess they got on the Cubs a little bit too hard, and some people in management didn't like it. But you know what? That's part of this job. Like you got to be honest. Like if I come on here and pretend like I watch the marquee post games, and some of the analysts and some of the hosts will get on there and act like, hey, you know what? We gave it a good try. Let's get them tomorrow, guys. And it's like, man, I don't want to hear that. Let's be honest about what's going on. And that's that right now, today, these guys suck. Now that could change for tomorrow. That could change down the road. And no one wants them to be bad, but watching them wail at all the breaking balls and take the fastball strikes, and, watching Morel get up there now with absolutely no idea what he's doing. I mean, you got to be honest about that. Dansby Swanson, paid all this money, and he's the next Jason Hayward, and the weak outs that Amaya make. I mean, that's what's going on today. Now, tomorrow that could change, but today that's what's going on.
And we're going to come on here every day and talk to you guys about what we're seeing. And what we're seeing is a bad baseball team. And we're telling you about it. We're telling you why we think they're bad. And we're telling you how we think they might be able to get better. But right now, this is a bad baseball team that played a bad baseball game and we're talking about it. And that's
Dead
what we're
fish,
doing.
man. It's a
We're
dead
not
fish.
exactly.
It's the same bad game over and over and over again. And it's like you just maybe, I mean, I'm sure that somewhere in there's some frustration, but it would be nice if someone showed a little frustration. Get thrown out of a game, Craig, go out there and just get pissed off over nothing.
Yeah.
I was watching the College World Series. Did you see Tennessee's 3-run comeback on Florida State in the bottom of the ninth? Did you see what happened the inning before that?
Was it the check swing?
The manager of the Tennessee team went nuts over it. And it was like a big play, but it wasn't that big. But I knew what he was doing. I mean, he was just trying to get his team going. Like he's mad and he's talking all this smack and and he's upset about this play. And that the check swing you're talking about was Florida State. It was the inning before that. And
yes.
He's just like, the Tennessee was going to walk. They were going to lose the game. And he's just doing something to get the team going. Now, you can't do that a whole lot in baseball because you play so many games.
Right.
And I know, like, you want to stay even keel. But when your team is playing like this, like they're just showing up, collecting the paycheck. Hey, you know what, guys? I heard that there's a steak special down on Broadway. Let's all meet there after the game. Hey, I got the first round, like maybe that's not really how they feel, but that's how it appears.
It looks like it.
Looks like that. You got to do something to shake it up. And obviously, if Dansby Swanson is their team leader, and since he's been here, I mean, all he's doing, he's always got a comment about who they need to sign and how do they need to do this, and this guy shouldn't be here and all this stuff. It's time for him to be the guy that steps up because he is the team leader. He's got to make something happen. And his body language looks like he's defeated, and it starts with him. And I've said that before. And if he's not the team leader, then you know what? Someone else is going to have to be that person. Someone's going to have to basically get him out of the way and be the guy that's like, this is what we got to do. But you have to be a good player to be that guy. You can't just go in there and start. You can't be a guy batting 200 and go in there and start telling everybody how to play. I mean, so since there's really nobody hitting, I don't know who that person's going to be on this team.
Exactly. But like you said, offense is contagious. So we can cross our fingers and hope that big explosion is coming and the Cubs really jump off of it in a positive way. Really quick before we let you go, I know we've been talking a lot to get into today. But Keegan Thompson pitched last night, his first game back from both the injured list and Iowa. He pitched a scoreless ninth inning. Not too much to add there, but he looked pretty good. And then the Cubs released their starting pitchers probables for this series that starts today against the Giants. Javier Assad will go tonight. Justin Steele will go on Tuesday. And Kyle Hendricks makes his return to the rotation on Wednesday. I talked about this on yesterday's show. Hendricks was like the logical choice with both Ben Brown and Jordan Wicks hurt. Hayden Wesneski not stretched out like he used to be, and Drew Smiley as like the only lefty in the bullpen. Hendricks is really the only guy to turn to. And like you said, you were crossing your fingers. Here's to hoping all three of these guys give you good outings, which I'm sure they will. Starting pitching hasn't been the issue.
Well, look, he's pitched, his best innings have been the last 10 he's thrown. And when he had to come in for Wicks, he looked really good. So I hope that, I hope he's able to come in there and continue that because the Cubs desperately need him to do that. And we're all pulling for him. It's the same thing. He was the worst pitcher in the history of the Cubs, right? Over the last, 60 or 70 years in his first, 5 starts, 6 starts. It was so bad. And then he came and he went in the bullpen and he was bad out there. And then all of a sudden he's just kind of gotten better, And so maybe he's figured it out. And I don't know. I mean, the mistakes were so egregious for him that they would leak out over the plate and everybody was teeing off on him like it was batting practice. Well, he hasn't made those mistakes over the last 10 games. So no one in the world wants him to do better than we do. And so I'm hoping that, with him back in the rotation, like maybe he's like the comeback player of the second half. Maybe he's a guy that just is as bad as he was at the beginning of the year. He's as good now, but it all comes down to he does not have the stuff. He has no velocity, or some of you like to say velo, And the only way that he succeeds is to change speed and to be accurate, and I mean pinpoint accurate with his pitches. He's gotta do that. He's gotta mix it up, and he's gotta be able to hit those spots, and if he misses, he cannot miss out over the plate. He's gotta miss out of the zone, and that's not what he was doing at the beginning of the year. So, but the Cubs have to have him. There's just no other options, as you just mentioned. It's either him or I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody from AAA.
Yeah, and then
somebody might be a good answer.
The other aspect with Hendricks is there will be a lot of balls in play, so you have to rely on that defense, which is why the Cubs have Gold Glovers all over, except they haven't looked like a great defensive team. So hopefully that turns too. There's just so many aspects of the game that have been below where they need to be for this team to be where they want to be. But hopefully, as the outside weather gets hotter, that this team can get a little bit hotter, and maybe that starts tonight. Javier Assad on the mound. He's been great all season long, 4-2 with a 2.81 ERA. He's up against TBD. I hear he's got some pretty good stuff for the Giants. And
7 innings, we might get 2 singles.
Yeah, exactly. And the Cubs play the Giants tonight at 7:05. So that's it from us today. A little bit of a longer show. We had a lot to get into, of course. This team, we love them so much that when they play like this, it really bothers us. So we get on here and we vent with you guys, and hopefully you guys jump in the comment section and let us know how you're feeling as well. But for now, like and subscribe. Enjoy your Monday, and hopefully the Cubs make it a better Monday later on today. Go.